So if you are a bookkeeper, being able to explain who you are, what you do, and who you serve clearly, cleanly, succinctly, and in the language of your customers, and ideally in 10 words or less. If you can do that simple statement, then that's going to do more for your brand and your marketing than anything else, because you can go to a networking event, introduce yourself, and someone will immediately get it. You don't need a fancy elevator pitch or something that's going to make someone laugh or pause. You just want someone to understand who you are. And if we're able to do that, then all of your other marketing gets better. Your website gets better, your advertising gets better, your PR gets better, your networking gets better. So I call that simple clarity, which is the ability to describe who you are, what you do, who you serve in 10 words or less.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be a great one. Our guest is a brand strategist and best-selling author of the book Sticky Branding. His blend of humor, stories, and actionable ideas will inspire you to innovate and grow your business and brand. He's also a friend of mine. Jeremy Miller, welcome to the show.
Michael, it is an absolute pleasure to be here.
Well, it's great to have you, and I'm excited. I'm excited about having you on the show and sharing everything you know. I mean, we could probably go in a million different directions, but I'm also excited to be you sharing your brand new book that's coming out as well. Exciting times for you. But before we get into all of that, Jeremy, please share a little bit about you, who you are, and what led you to being a brand expert.
Sure. Well, pleasure. So I help companies and individuals grow their brands. That's fundamentally what my business, Sticky Branding, is all about. And we provide actionable ideas, tools, services, books, and resources to give you what you need to stand out, attract customers, and ultimately grow your brand. And I got into this world through an unexpected or an unplanned process. Many years ago, back in 2004, I joined my family's business, and one of my very first tasks was to rebrand it. Now, we didn't know it at the time, but our company was a recruiting agency, and it was going through a technological disruption. Google and LinkedIn and Facebook were transforming the recruiting industry. And at the time, we thought we just had a sales problem. So we went and we rebranded the business. We changed the company name, and we got into digital marketing very early. And that was really where I cut my teeth in this world. And what happened was our clients took notice of the work that I was doing in terms of search engine optimization and content marketing and just branding. And they started to ask for help. And so I started on a journey over the last 15 years to study and understand how do small and medium-sized businesses grow remarkable brands that people love, that connect with their customers, and create a sales and competitive advantage.
It's pretty cool. I love how knowing you, I love your journey. I love how a problem turned into you going on this journey of becoming an expert. And I love that you help small, medium-sized businesses grow their business. And I know our listener loves you already because they're doing the same thing, helping small business grow. And we know that we do that. We make a big difference in the world. Now, when you started helping other small businesses, what was that like to see their businesses evolve and their brand start to take a different shape? Because I imagine a lot of small business owners, it's like the last thing they think about. It's just them coming at it, doing their service, doing whatever that they're doing. They start thinking about brand. Things can really open up and change for their business and their life.
That's really interesting. So you know what? I'm finding more and more that people are thinking brand first, especially as they are going out and creating their new business. And I think it's just the world that we live in that we need a website, we need a name, we need logos and marketing. We've got to look pretty on Instagram. And so the brand conversation, I think, is coming up very early compared to what entrepreneurs might have done a decade ago. But to go to your core question is, how does it feel to help someone realize their brand? To me, it's the biggest drug, because you see it when somebody discovers the potential that they have in their mind and they're able to realize it. And I think that's the big thing that we see at Sticky Branding is it's a brand in progress. My brand is a brand in progress that we're constantly trying to grow and evolve to make ourselves stand out and create the value that we know we can create. And that's what our customers are doing too, that they have a brand in progress. We all do. And the challenge is we have this vision in our mind of what we want to accomplish. And whether it's myself or when I watch another entrepreneur do this, when somebody is able to start to execute and realize that what they know they can do can be done, and then they do it and they see the results and they get the accolades and customers thank them and they make more money, it's amazing.
Isn't it? I love it. Now, you wrote a best-selling book. Well, I guess you wrote the book, then it became a bestseller, and it was called Sticky Branding. And now you're about to release a brand new book on this topic of naming. Tell us a little bit about this book and why did you decide to write it?
So the new book is called Brand New Name, and it will be released in October. And what it is a proven step-by-step process to create an unforgettable brand name. And this book actually came out of Sticky Branding in an unexpected way. When I released Sticky Branding, I started to experiment with long-form content on my blog. I had heard anecdotally that long articles perform better on Google, especially for search engine optimization. And so I published 4 articles related to naming, metaphors, symbols, and mascots, and I just pushed them out there, and then I kept promoting and doing what I was doing with Sticky Branding. And lo and behold, the phone started to ring with customers asking for naming services. And at first I didn't understand what was happening because I didn't promote naming on my website and I didn't have any services pages for it. But this article was generating all this traffic. And what I discovered is that everybody needs to name something. It is the first thing we do when we're building our brand. It's the first thing we do when we're launching a company. If we're launching a product or service, we need names for that too. But the problem is naming is one of the most misunderstood and vexing branding challenges, and it can consume a ton of time. And many, many people are compromising with names they don't like or even love because they ran out of time or they got frustrated and they just had to choose something so they could move forward to grow their business. And so I wanted to solve that problem. Naming has been a challenge for me as a serial entrepreneur, and naming is a challenge for each of my clients. And so what I'm setting out to do with Brand New Name is to give the complete toolbox so that anyone can name anything without hiring an agency or a consultant. The book gives you everything you need to name something.
This is fantastic. Now, for our listener right now who is a bookkeeper, why should they care about their name?
The name is how you're known. If you think about it, you just look at your own name. So your name, Michael, is how we know you. And your business, Pure Bookkeeping, is how we know your organization. And so that name is the vessel that contains all the meaning and experiences of your organization. And it is the thing that we communicate with. It's the thing that we recall. It's the thing that we share. So what a great name can do is make you more memorable, more easy to share, more easy to refer, and it sets the tone and relationship that you need for your entire business and brand. And the reason you want to get it right is that your brand name, whether it's for your company or your product, whatever it is the longest living artifact of any organization. You think about it, Colgate is over 120 years old in terms of a company name. Same with names like Zipper and Laundromat. These are long, well-established names that contain so much meaning. And so a product will change, a website will change, but a name won't. And so getting it right is probably the most important branding decision that you will ever make.
Wow. Well, I love this conversation because it would not be the first time I've had a conversation with a bookkeeper and the question of what should I name my business? How should I name it? And I'd love to have a little bit of a conversation around what might go into thinking about, how do you name something out of the gate?
Sure. So I have come at this myself. So I named my first business in 2004, and I've had that process go forward many times. And I can tell you that the biggest problem with naming is we don't have good process. And that's really the issue. Is it's this black box type of idea that we sit there and we brainstorm names, and what ultimately we come up with is a bunch of words, but we don't know how to qualify them, test them, select them. And then there's the domain name and trademark issues. And so what Brand New Name is the first half of the book includes ideas and stories and inspiration around why naming is important. But the second half is a tool, and it includes a 3-stage naming sprint. And the first thing you want to do is plan. The key thing is defining your guidelines for success. What is this name going to do? How is it going to perform? What does it mean for you and your business? The second step is creating ideas. And the book gives you a 5-day naming sprint where you and your friends, your family, your team can generate as many names as possible. And this is critical because the key to naming right now isn't generating a good idea, it's generating a good idea that has an available name. We're actually experiencing a naming drought where all the .coms are being taken, all the trademarks are taken. And the most frustrating part of naming isn't coming up with good ideas, it's finding a name that's available. And so that's where the third stage of the process kicks in, where we provide you tools and process to test and select so that you can create a name that you're proud to own. And so my view in terms of why naming is frustrating is it's like trying to do accounting or bookkeeping without having any understanding of what the tools are, what the industry is, how accounting works, any of that type of stuff. If you're coming in with a blind, it's going to be a nightmare. But if you have process, if you have structure, anyone can do it. And so what we're trying to do is give the process and tools so that anyone can name something.
I love it. And I'm excited. I think, there's what's interesting about the bookkeeping industry is that it starts very innocently often. It's not something that they lay out a business plan for and, figure everything out before they get started. It's often, hey, here we go. Someone needs this work done. They start doing that work. And so really there's no need for a name other than their own name, right? It's like, hey, Susan over there or Jim over there, they know how to do bookkeeping. Why don't you go work with them? But having a name like you're saying can really, if they want to scale their business, if they want to establish their business, can make a really big difference. And so I think a lot of our listeners could revisit and look at their business name and actually go through this process using your book to do this. Now, what if they already have a name and they've chosen something? What about some mistakes perhaps that, you go off and you name your business? What mistakes might people make when naming their business?
I think one of my pet peeves, especially in the marketing and advertising world, is the way people glamorize names and logos and brands, and they criticize the Slack logo. Can you believe they changed it? Or the Uber logo? Look at what they've done to that now, and it turns into this big to-do. But the thing is, those changes actually don't move the sales needle in any way. So my view is there's no such thing as a bad name. There's only a bad strategy. So if you name your company something and it doesn't connect with customers, it doesn't position it well, maybe it just doesn't fit, then that to me is a strategy issue that might need a change. And there's lots of old businesses, for example, that have outdated names like A1. And so the issue of the mistake is not did we choose the wrong name? The issue is, does the name fit the brand and what we're trying to do? And if it doesn't, my suggestion is change it. You can always work to rename a business, provided that you have, again, strategy to communicate the change to your customers. Most of your clients are incredibly forgiving. So if you've been operating your business under your own name for the last 5 or 6 years, and you want to go to more of a corporate name so that you can hire employees and have other bookkeepers working under your business, then it is a justifiable reason to change the company name and then tell the story to your clients of why you've done that. And if we're transparent and clear with people, that's really what good branding is all about. Give people the story of why you're doing what you're doing, and they will come along with you for the ride.
Love it. I think it's exciting for people to take a look at this. And I would imagine the first step that they'd want to do is pick up a copy of your book, which unfortunately won't be out till, I believe, October. Is that accurate?
October 8th is the publication date.
October 8th.
You can pre-order it now on Amazon and Indigo and everywhere that books are sold.
Beautiful. Well, I know that it's going to be an amazing book. I'm going to suggest that when our listeners listening to this right now, there's a couple months to go, but pre-order, get this going, start thinking about it. There's maybe even some resources Jeremy might be able to provide us in the community that we could present in our Successful Bookkeeper community portal, which would be cool. So maybe Jeremy, give that some thought by the end of this. I'm putting you on the hot seat here a bit, but I'd like to talk a little bit about and understand, why is it hard? Naming something is difficult. There's so many ways you could go at it and think about it and choose different names. Why is it hard for people to do this?
I think I alluded to it a moment ago with the process. The hard part of naming isn't coming up with interesting things to call your product or service or company. The hard part is finding an available domain name or an available name that you can trademark. For the first time in human history, we are experiencing a naming drought. And this is actually really interesting because with the growth of globalization, the growth of websites, the growth of small businesses, everybody is naming things. For example, in the United States alone, there are 543,000 new small businesses started every single month.
Say that number again. That's crazy. Over
500,000 people are starting businesses every single month in the United States.
Woo!
500.
That's a great news for bookkeepers, right?
100%. Now, not all these businesses are going to survive, but they're all going to need names. You can guarantee a percentage of them are going to survive, and they are going to need your services. So we are growing companies at an astronomical
pace. And the
pace.
more that use great bookkeepers will survive more likely.
100%. We are in this renaissance right now of that as entrepreneurs, there is a never-ending pipeline of new business for you to serve, new clients, new companies, and they're so innovative. They're so smart. I love watching young entrepreneurs today because they are building apps and services and brick and mortar and blending these things together to create just remarkable businesses. And so I think we are at the golden age to be an entrepreneur because not only do we have endless supply of clients, we have the tools and process to get to them with digital marketing, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, our websites. You can work from home and serve clients anywhere in the world. It's amazing.
It really is amazing. And now this drought that is there with domains and trademarks and all being gobbled up. What should our listener do? Or does the book tackle that problem and how to overcome it?
Yeah. So the issue is with this naming drought and with basically, if you wanted to buy a .com today, you're going to have to buy it from somebody else. They're primarily all registered. So the issue that we face today is we need to generate a lot of ideas to find an available name. So you have to generate a lot of names to find one good name. And so the process of brand new name is to go through a 5-day naming sprint where you generate as many ideas as you can over the course of 5 days so that you've got options to test and select. And where you are able to extend this is you can involve friends, family, employees, partners, and get them into the creative process to generate even more names. And that's the secret to naming right now. It's not coming up with one great idea, it's coming up with 100. And once you've got options, you can go and test and you can eliminate the non-starters. You can eliminate the ones that are trademarked. You can eliminate the ones that mean something bad in another language. And you don't feel guilty about it because you've got 2, 3, 4, 5 more in the hopper. And when you approach it from just an open mind and with creative structure, then it's a problem that you can solve in as little as 2 to 3 weeks.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we talk about a .com name and people selling them, they can be quite expensive. as you've mentioned. Is it worth? Should they be considering that? Is it worth it?
I'm of the opinion, no, it is not. I did a domain search recently where a client wanted to use the brand name Grant. And so we looked at grant.com. And the seller was offering that domain for $10,000 US a month on lease. You couldn't even buy it. You just could rent it forever for $10,000 US a month. So as a small business,
that's a great gig if you're the one that owns grant.com.
Exactly. This is real estate 101. So my view of this goes this way. Domains are less valuable than they were 5 years ago. You think about it, when you go to your web browser, you are not typing in a URL, you are typing in a company name. So the name itself is more important than the .com. And people are tolerant. They accept that not every company is going to have a .com. You think of Zoom, the video conferencing service. They are available at zoom.us, which is brilliant because it makes Zoom a verb, like Zoom us. So be creative. Focus on creating a great name, and then use a descriptor on it. So say you have a name like Pure Bookkeeping. By combining Pure with bookkeeping, you were able to get a valuable .com. So you can add bookkeeping to the end of your name, get the .com or the .net, and just keep moving, because I think you've got better things to spend your money on than to buy real estate online.
I would agree completely. Now, how about .net, .io, .dot? Seems like there's a dot for everything these days. What are your thoughts around that?
Use whatever works. So here's what's happening is the only place that your URL is going to show up is your business card and maybe some marketing collateral. More and more of our interaction and search is coming through voice. So we're using Alexa or Siri, other things. So you want a name that's easy to pronounce. So, hey Siri, take me to Pure Bookkeeping, and running it on that. So it's that kind of thinking that we have. And if the .io, the .us, the .ca is available, take it. Just keep moving so that you can breathe life into the name you're trying to create.
Wonderful, wonderful thinking. And you've done lots of testing and work around SEO. And in terms of a search engine, is there any disadvantage to using a different end like .com versus like .ca versus .com to a search engine?
Google hasn't used the URL name or the business name from a search engine optimization perspective in almost 10 years. So there was that trend where someone would want to be Bookkeeping Toronto, Bookkeeping Chicago, and that would be their company name and their URL name, and that was their search engine strategy. Today, Google is so much smarter. They're using the content on your website, the way you articulate your brand. Having a mobile website is more important to search than what you call your business.
Beautiful. You know, there's so many angles to be thinking about, and we've talked a lot about the website and the naming and coming up with a name. Once they have a name, how does the book address to getting that name out there into the world and to become known so that people know of you? Any thoughts around that?
Well, that's where we go back to the first book, Sticky Branding, where that is your playbook on how do you build your brand. And so in Sticky Branding, it includes 12 and a half principles to grow a remarkable brand. And that looks at positioning all the way through content marketing and connecting with your customers and building a reputation where people know you, like you, trust you, and choose you first. And so the two books actually fit hand in glove in that you need a name to start a business, to launch a product, to package or productize your services. So we all need names. But then once you've got the name, that's when we come back to sticky branding. And that's the ongoing brand in progress journey of how do you breathe life into this word or phrase you've created for your business so that people are going to find you and choose you.
I love it. Now, many of our listeners, small business, as you know, not huge budgets in the marketing department, in the brand building department. Any thoughts or ideas, strategies that you see that really, really work well for the clients that you've worked with that would match or mirror our type of listener to get their brand moving, get known in the marketplace?
I think the most fundamental thing that all small businesses have to do with their brand is get their core messaging clear first. So if you are a bookkeeper, being able to explain who you are, what you do, and who you serve clearly, cleanly, succinctly, and in the language of your customers, and ideally in 10 words or less. If you can do that simple statement, then that's going to do more for your brand and your marketing than anything else, because you can go to a networking event, introduce yourself, and someone will immediately get it. You don't need a fancy elevator pitch or something that's going to make someone laugh or pause. You just want someone to understand who you are. And if we're able to do that, then all of your other marketing gets better. Your website gets better, your advertising gets better, your PR gets better, your networking gets better. So I call that simple clarity, which is the ability to describe who you are, what you do, who you serve in 10 words or less. Once you have simple clarity, then it comes down to building relationships. How do you build a relationship early and often so that people like you and trust you? So when they need a bookkeeper, they call you. And you can use Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, email marketing, search engine optimization, PR. Like, the world's your oyster. Do what fits you, but be consistent at it.
It really is simple when it comes down to it. Getting there is not easy, but it is simple. Have a clear message. Get that message out to as many people as you possibly can. And there's so many ways to do that today, given that so many of them are actually free. They take time and energy, so it's not completely free. But the world really is our oyster as small business owners. There's never been a better time to be alive and be in business. And they're churning out lots of opportunity every single day, as you mentioned, which is super exciting. Now, Jeremy, coming back, I put you on the hot seat. Resources, help our listener get rolling, get going before they get that book in the mail, because I know they're going to order that book. Is there anything we can any treats or special gifts that you can provide that we could help them get started on this right away and put it in our online portal?
100%. So I'm going to send you a link called Free Prize Inside on Sticky Branding's website. And so we've got a pre-order campaign. So if you buy one book, or pre-order a copy of Brand New Name, I will give you a complimentary workbook that is of equal value to the book, which gives you additional tools and process to support your naming journey. If you buy 5 books or pre-order 5 books, you'll also get a copy of Sticky Branding, and it escalates from there. So we've got some options as you engage with me in the book, then I will be happy to support you. The other thing I would be happy to offer you is a sample chapter. It's called The Anatomy of a Name, and it shows you actually some of the core constructs of how names are created, and that will give you a flavor of what's to come. So I'll be happy to give you some special perks, because I really do believe in your community, and I'd be happy to share what's happening with you.
Beautiful. That's excellent. And I would say this is a fantastic gift to be thinking. If you're a person that buys gifts for your clients or customers, colleagues, that sort of thing, this would be a wonderful gift to give to any of your clients as business owners to review and refresh. And so perfect opportunity to get some great opportunity gifts from Jeremy. And I look forward to Jeremy having you come back and share more when the book comes out, and we'll have some stories probably from some of our listeners to hear how they've used the book and changed and transformed their businesses.
Wonderful. One other point I'll throw out there, if you are in the Toronto area on October 15th, we are going to be having the book launch event at the University of Toronto Rotman campus down on St. George. It's at 5:00. The price of admission is a copy of the book. It will be a 1-hour keynote. And it's going to be amazing. So if you are in the area, I would love to have you out, and love to meet you as well.
Beautiful. Well, I will be there, and hopefully some of our local listeners will be there as well. And heck, there are things called planes. They can fly in and come and meet you live if this message really is resonating with our listener.
Amazing.
That's great,
Thank you.
Jeremy.
Well, I really appreciate it.
Beautiful. Well, Jeremy, thank you for generously coming on and giving us your time, giving us your knowledge. It's been a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you. And I absolutely love what you're doing for the bookkeeping community. Keep it up. It's amazing to watch you work, Michael.
Thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate it. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. And heck, if you thought this episode was valuable, please leave us a review. Let others know that you're getting value and let us know what you thought. And if you have suggestions on what we can do better, we'd love to hear that too. Wherever you listen to your podcast, whether it's on Apple or Google or any of those amazing apps that are out there, please do that. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.